Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, episode 273 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, who's playing with physics with me tonight.
This is Joe Butler, and I sure do love our new alien overlords.
And this is Ian Bauer. I took physics in college, and I don't remember if I passed it. So, also, I have an Instagram. It's Aerith_33. I post drone photos and videos of the area around me in California. So, if you want to go take a look and tell me what you think, I'd really appreciate it.
I've seen some of them on Facebook. They're pretty cool.
Thank you.
I don't use Instagram much. I post on Instagram, but I don't actually look at Instagram.
I got into it on a whim, and I was like, you know what, this is a lot of fun, and I'm actually studying for my license right now. Speaking of physics.
So, to be a pilot?
It's a drone pilot, so that way I can do a little bit more with it and not have to deal with so many verifications and things like that. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool. I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, it's part 107 FAA license.
Yeah, I learned something new, which I'm okay with. And we are here to talk about Half-Life 2 that developed and published by Valve, came out in 2004, for PC at least. And then it came out for everything else later. God, this was on original Xbox?
Yep.
I forgot about that. Huh.
But what's weird is you can't find it for any of the Xbox systems anywhere. It's not on the Xbox marketplace. It's not on discs unless you want to, buy the orange box collection.
Yeah, for 360.
So this is actually the first time I played a shooter from beginning to end using keyboard and mouse because I was forced to. So
well, you have a quick comment for that. The first game I ever played mouse and keyboard, like from beginning to end, was Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl. That is not the game to learn FPS on a keyboard, by the way. But that game is fucking brutal. I get it. This game is not probably a good one to learn it on either because there's so much minutia to this game, to what you can do. So I get it.
I've been playing shooters for a long time, and I've been using controllers for a long time to do it. And I gotta say, I do appreciate the ability to be able to just like swing around 180 degrees and shoot the monster closet that magically appeared behind me, which is something I haven't thought about in a long time, actually. But otherwise, I think you need a real specifically designed setup to play that way, because I gotta tell you, at the end of whatever 15, 20 hours or whatever this game took, my wrists were killing me.
Oh, no, I know what you mean. I don't. It wasn't this game, but recently I had my hands fall asleep while I was playing a game. I think it was Kirby's Air Ride. That was on the Steam Deck. But no, sometimes I have a setup for PC where I'm okay. I have just the way my desks are set up, and I have like a wrist pad thing. Like I'm okay where I'm like comfortably able to play, and my laptop is up because it's on a cooling pad. So it's higher up, and all that seems to help. But yeah, no, for PC, if you're going to do longer sessions, with FPS on like mouse keyboard, you kind of have to have the right setup where everything's comfortable. If you're not moving a lot.
Wrist pads, I was looking at those too. There are very distinct kinds of people looking for wrist pads.
Yep.
Perverts. There's nothing in between.
It's hilarious. I remember I was looking them up, and I'm like, oh, look at the Tiffle one with giant boobs. I sent it to my friend, and I'm like, here, you should buy this. She's like, yes, I should. But It was just hilarious. No, I have one for my job. Sent me a little beanbag with the name of the company on it. That's my wrist thing. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, guys.
Not me looking at my big man titty mouse pad over on my desk.
I almost bought a Tiffle one, by the way, or one of them. I'm like, but I didn't. But I think
you should know. You should like surprise her as like a random Christmas gift. Get her the one where it's like Mike Myers with like big fucking titties. I will find a link specifically for you, bud. Trust me.
Tiff would probably like that, actually.
Right?
Maybe not. If it was Freddy, she'd be interested. Freddy, because she's not big into Mike Myers. She likes Freddy the most. Nightmare.
Again, that's a real specific person looking for Freddy Krueger with boobs.
Hey, I think she'd be okay with it. I honestly do. But so we played Half-Life 1, I think about a year ago. I didn't look up the episode because
something like that.
And I had never played Half-Life before, well, very little. And then, so Half-Life 2, I remember I was in high school when this first came out. I remember all the hubbub where the source code or something got leaked like a year before, and they had to cancel the game and then redo it or something.
Really?
Something happened. I can't remember the exact details, but I do remember that something got hacked and then released early, and it took them longer in development because they had to. They were pissed, obviously. But yeah, something like that got stolen from them. And I mean, I didn't care. It wasn't a PC. I mean, I had an E-Machines PC at the time, but it wasn't good enough to run something like this. So I didn't care. And I was a console gamer mostly. So I bought this on Orange Box for $20 around the time when it came out. I worked at Target. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play this someday. But I'm like, oh, I should play Half-Life 1 first. And Half-Life 1 was never released anything console but PS2, which I hated. And one of the only games I've sold in my entire collection ever. And yeah, I never played this. I was like, yeah, someday I'll get to it. And that someday turned out to be 2024.
I never had aspirations to play it until you're like, hey, let's play it. And I said, oh, okay. I worked at GameStop in the 2000s, late 2000s. And I mean, we had a billion copies of the Orange Box just lying around. And, I remember distinctly just so many boxes with Gordon Freeman on the front of it. And I was like, God, I don't even care. I'm sure it's nice. Playing through the beginning, within the first 10 minutes, I understood why this game is so important because it starts off with story and you're walking through the contextual story stuff. And every shooter now starts the same way, regardless of what it is. And I feel like pre-2004, even pre-2000 was, Doom, Duke Nukem, all these other games where it's like, here you go, big dumb space marine with gun, bang bang, shooty, good time, and it was like, that was it. And so I got it. I totally understood why this game was important. Did that make me like it? Not really, because it's 20 years old, and I was like, all right, here's why we don't do these. Here's 20 different guns. Enjoy, because you're not using them. And I have lots of thoughts on the guns too, but just everything from the way you interact to the environment, to the contextual clues, to the way people are talking to you. There's a lot of current FPS DNA that came from this game. And so, yes, it's important. Is it still a good game? Questionable. And I'm sure that, people are going to, leave their thoughts and opinions, and that's fine. But
not many people do, actually. I don't get a whole lot of complaints because I don't have a big enough audience for that yet.
I have the stupidest story to tell both of y'all. I don't think I told Mike this before.
Okay.
So, Ian, you said that you used to work at GameStop back in 2000.
I was going to bring this up.
I worked at GameStop like 6 months, like 6 weeks ago. And if I had a nickel for every time someone asked me at about Team Fortress 2, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but the second one really pissed me off. Weirdly enough, I played both Half-Life games on consoles. I played Half-Life 1 on the PS2. I went to like a game store and they had it because I didn't have a PS2 and I somehow managed to find it and I played it on my cousin's PS2. And then same thing with this. Whenever I got my Xbox 360, I bought the Orange Box for this and Portal. I never played Portal, and Team Fortress 2 was on there. Like in the whatever at GameStop, Mike, for like fucking 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it was something like that. It probably felt like 3 years.
It was it's like 3 years. It was I worked from like November until like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you were a Black Friday hire.
Yeah, pretty much. And no, it was after Black Friday, thankfully.
Or Christmas holiday hire.
Yeah, where he saw what hours were, and then all of a sudden they're like, hours? What are hours?
Yeah, pretty much. Not once, but twice, I had 2 separate people come in asking me for Team Fortress 2 for the Xbox. And the first people were like a really old people, and they're like, our grandson really wants Team Fortress 2 for the Xbox. And I'm like, they don't make Team Fortress 2 for the Xbox. They make the Orange Box. Is that what you're looking for? And they're like, we guess. And so I'm like, yeah, we don't fucking sell that. And I think
one of exactly that way too.
No, I do. And people the store got mad like, I'm supposed to cuss the customers. I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'm an adult. They're an adult. There are no kids in the store. I'm gonna fucking cuss if I want to. And so because it was a weird request, so I'm like, yeah, one of the other stores has it like down the road. They're like, okay, thank you, really nice little couple. The second one, I have never wanted to choke out a child more than I did in this fucking situation. I'm like I'm standing there at the register, and this mom comes up with like her 8-year-old. And the woman's like, "Hey, Billy, why don't you tell the nice man what you want?" He's like, "I'm looking for TFS2 or TF2," and I'm like, "You mean like Team Fortress 2?" And he just gives me like the most like DreamWorks smirky look, and he looks at me and his mom, and then back to me, and he goes, "Of course, I mean Team Fortress 2. What else could I be talking about?" And I'm like, and I'm like, "We don't sell it.
It's a felony. It's a felony.
I don't care. I would punt a small child." And I'm like, "We don't have it." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "They don't make that for the Xbox anymore." "Well, can you see if any other stores have it?" I didn't even look. I was like, no other store has it. They sell on the orange box. They don't make it anymore. You need to play it on PC. "Oh, I don't have a PC." "Sucks to be you then, kid. Bye."
I mean, I can never work in a game store again. I worked at Target, and I was an asshole too, so I get it.
So happy. Working at a game store is a whole different kind of. It takes a whole weird set of skills that you just don't typically have to like exercise. Like this podcast, right? Like we're talking about games, we're having a good time. It's fun, and when people sign up to work at GameStop, to pay them. They think it's going to be the same thing. No. It's the guy. It's the stereotypical guy that walks in, just like the 8-year-old kid, except he's 26, lives at home, and hasn't showered in a month and a half. He's like, "Do you have TF2?" And you're like, "Team Fortress 2?" Yeah. And it's like, man, I'm just trying to get through my shift, and I'm just trying to re-alphabetize the effing wall for the 8th time this hour. And while I'm trying to sell you an extended warranty and a subscription to a thing that nobody wants and something else. And like, "Have you ever played Skull Monkeys?" And you're like, "Yes, I have." "Well, I haven't. It's made out of clay." And they're like, "Your brain's made out of clay. Get the hell out of here." I have to, kick you in the face. And it's such a terrible job. And the people above you don't make it any better. And I feel like we should actually have just like a 2-hour podcast where we talk about, the horror that's working at GameStop.
I know enough people at this point. I could.
Oh, shit. Awesome.
Let's do it.
Because my sister also worked at GameStop for years, and I have tons of horror stories from that, especially being a woman who works at GameStop.
Oh,
but but the only other thing that I could think of real quick, because I don't want to stay on this tangent, because I always start talking about the Half-Life 2, is I think the worst part of it is whenever people come in and they're like, "Hi, I have a PlayStation and my child really wants Mario. Do you have Mario for PlayStation?"
God. Oh my, yes.
And it's
then they
like,
get mad at you that Mario's not on PlayStation.
Yeah, and then they get mad at you and they're like, "You're telling me they don't have Mario on PlayStation?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, they don't. Do you want Crash Bandicoot?" Yeah.
Did you feed your child paint chips? Because that's the only way that Mario's on PlayStation. Actually, just just to vibe off what you were saying. I don't want to jump off the Half-Life 2 too much. I worked at Babbage's when I was in high school, which is, I think, consolidated into GameStop over time. So
yeah, they bought them out at one point, but it was a computer software video game store.
Yeah, it was great, and now it no longer exists because it had a weird name, I think. But yep, that's my I'm an old man story. Anyway,
well, it's also GameStop just bought everything at when it first appeared. Like it bought EB Games, it bought Funkoland, it bought all these stores, and it just completely took over. So.
Also, you should have looked at that kid. Team Fortress 2, son, do you see our shelves? Do you think we sell video games here? No, we sell the bobbleheads and action figures and stupid T-shirts.
I will tell you something else after the podcast is over. Anyway.
Hey, I buy Funko Pops almost every time I go to GameStop, unfortunately. So, I got a couple.
On a video game there in years, but I have plenty of toys from there.
No, I don't buy games from there anymore either. I don't even look at the game. I look at the Funko Pops and walk out. Usually, I'm like, oh, okay, what do you got, Funko Pops? I'm also a straight digital gamer. Like that's just kind of how I unfortunately become. Like, well. And I know people get upset about that, but I think that's just kind of what you have to do. And if you are a PC gamer, Steam is amazing when it comes to deals and just random shit. And the fact that I'm pretty sure that the world will end when Steam ends, and I'm not worried about all my games disappearing. So
completely full circling, because by the time of this recording, the Steam sale has ended, and I bought this game on the orange box for $1.
Hell, fucking worth it.
Yeah, so the orange box was $1 with this episode 1, episode 2, and Portal.
And we are since you brought it up, we're not talking about episode 1 and 2 in this recording, but we will get to it probably in another time.
Are we going to do both? Like just both?
Probably together. Yeah.
Do you know how long episode 1 and 2 is by chance, Ian?
4 and 5 hours, respectively.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No, that's what How Long to Beat said, but also How Long to Beat is always, for me at least, an overestimated what it takes me to beat a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, not everyone agrees with that. I was listening to a podcast, Geekbox, and they're like, it's like, man, they're always short. And I'm like, how are you playing games? Because every time I play a game, it's done short than
that. There's that website that'll tell you how long everything is. How long is it or whatever?
HowLongToBeat.com.
That one. I'm glad one of us knows what it is.
I use it all the time. That's actually how I make the schedule for the show. It's based on that website, so
fair.
I know it very well. But with Half-Life 2, unfortunately, Dan Jones was going to join us, but he wasn't able to make it. No, unfortunately, he wasn't going to. He was going to join it, but unfortunately, couldn't make it. I wanted him on here because he loved Half-Life 1. He loves this game. We were bitching in the group chat, and he's like, "How can you not like this game?" And then, unfortunately, couldn't make it to tell us how we're wrong. But I'll take the positive stand with this game here or there because I think for a lot of us, like I know Joe played it before, but for me and Ian, we never touched this game until 2024. And I think, and I'm 100% positive that affected our view of this game and what we're going to say that isn't GameStop related throughout this podcast. Like it really altered what our opinion. Like I mean, I didn't even think about it, but Ian's right. Like when you start this game off, and how much of the storytelling is contextual. It's just seeing the environment. You have no weapon. You're just going along the motion. And I didn't even think about that. Like, it didn't even occur to me. I was just like, oh, okay. And the basic story of this game, I do want to say, is at least Half-Life 1 ended. You went with the G-Man. You've been somewhere gone for 20 years in cryo storage, essentially. I don't know what the actual word is, but you're not around. And then 20 years later, the Combine has taken over because in Half-Life 1, you opened up portals to different worlds, and then the world was attacked. There was a 7-hour war with the Combine aliens. The UN gave direction to one idiot scientist who now is in charge of the Earth, and he made a deal with the Combine to have peace, and then they enslaved everybody.
Yes.
Which is not explained in the game at all that I noticed throughout my playthrough.
It is they do discuss that 7-hour war, and they do talk about some of that at certain points. Okay. I think maybe I got lucky with that because I got bored and I was just seeing how close to the line I could get of like how annoying is Gordon Freeman. And so I'd go up to people and I would just push them or hit E and just see what would happen until they just tased me and they're like, get the hell out of here. Also
see, I didn't do any of that. I just ran through the game and just went where the game told me to go. I mean, and the game doesn't tell you where to go. Like there's no markers. It's just, you can just feel the world where it wants you to go because it's really well designed.
In a way, this game hit one of my buttons where it was like, ugh, duh, how do you not know where to go? And you're like, look here, motherfucker. All right, I don't live here. I don't know where everything is within your little hideout. Just tell me where to go. And then it was that assault at the kind of close to the end. And you're in that kind of busted up building and you're fighting those tripods and whatever they are. And there's like just a group of people staring at you like morons. And you're like, dude, just tell me where to go. I don't understand where to go. And they're like, hi, I like raisins. And you're like, I'm going to shoot you. But, and to Mike's point, yeah, to an extent, it is pretty understandable where you're supposed to go. But it is also ungodly big for no reason in places. Yeah. And it can be difficult to understand exactly where like on the beach, sometimes I think I got turned around. But, there was a lot of points, especially in the beginning. I just was clicking on everything, and a bunch of those dudes, security guards, just kept tasing me over and over because they're like, "Get away, step back." Sure, if you don't step back, we're going to tase you. And you're like, "Cool, do it, man." And they tase you.
We don't have a health bar at first, so you can't die. I'm assuming.
But no, it was great, and then I got a gun, and they started shooting me. So that good times ended.
I didn't do any of that, but I guess a lot of the stories is in conversations and things that people say. I didn't mess with people really. I just went through the game. I mean, and to your point, like I parts of it I felt like it would direct me, but there were a couple times like in that when you fight the Striders near the end of the game, I could not figure out what the fuck to do. I had to look up a guide. And I found the grenades by complete accident near the end of that part. Or not the grenade, but the missile, because they just didn't. I mean, they're like, there's a missile crate down here. And I'm like, where the fuck is the missile crate, asshole?
Wait, you didn't have the missile until the homing rocket until that point?
No, I had the homing rocket before, but I couldn't find the crate with more homing rocket that he wanted me to find. Like, I could not figure out where it was.
Gotcha.
And it was irritating me. But like it, at times I like markers. I like a game telling me go here. I like mini maps with symbols. Like that's just the type of gamer I am, and this is not that type of game at all. And it's not. It's just a more immersive game. I think might be the right way to say it.
I think it's one of those where it was minimalistic, kind of like a
Okay.
space almost, where it was okay. Here's kind of some visual feedback on things, but we're not gonna beat you to death with like an MMO level of information. Figure it out, and I think that simply has to do with the fact that the game is from 2004 and they were still figuring things out.
That's completely fair.
Mhm.
I played this game over a week ago, and I have a better opinion of it now than I probably did while I was playing it. Now that I've sat back and thought about it a bit. My biggest issue with this game is I don't like physics. Well, I don't like physics puzzles, I've realized, but I also don't like having to platform in a first-person shooter. I knew that already a long time ago. And yes, this game makes it work, and it's not as bad as Half-Life 1, but I was annoyed when I had to lift things and put things on top of each other to get around. I was annoyed every time it happened.
I haven't played Half-Life the 2 episodes, but it sounds really goofy because technically it is what it is. But with all of this stuff, I know part of it has to do with them wanting to show off the new engine and showing off because their physics in the game are pretty good, and it should really, at least most games should have at least that minimum of a standard. But I also 100% agree and really hope that if we ever in some universe we get a part 3, I really also do hope that they kind of move away a little bit from that, because some of them are okay. Like there's one where you have to go underwater and put like barrels underneath like a ramp.
Yeah.
And that one's fine, but the one I like legit could not get working, I think it's like the first or second or another one where you have to use like blocks to like level out like a teeter-totter, and you have to go off the ramp to jump on the ledge. Like one of them, I could not get it, and every time like I did it like 2 or 3 times, and then I jumped off, and it's like, oh, one of the fucking blocks flew off. Okay, let me go over there and put it back on and put it in a spot where it won't fly off, and then
that barrel puzzle. I remember thinking at the time, all of a sudden these things are buoyant enough to push up this like couple 100-pound ramp, but when I pull them underwater, all of a sudden they're just nothing. Like I can pull it without a problem. To the point, though, I think that if there is a Half-Life 3, they are going to pull away from physics because it's not novel anymore. The reason that it was in there is because they're like, oh my god, nobody's done this before, and now everybody does it.
I didn't realize this, but this is the first game that did this. From what I was reading online, I was watching more YouTube videos before we did this episode, and they're like, yeah, this is the first game that had physics and had this type of just gameplay. So, this must have been a huge fucking deal to PC gamers back in 2004.
Because at the beginning, kind of going back to the contextual stuff, is when they're like, all right, pick up this box, put the box down. And I was like, okay, I see what they're going for. I see that this is going to be a thing throughout the game. And actually, kind of going to screwing with the bad guys at the very beginning before you have a gun. I picked up a cannon, I chucked it at one of them, and I got an achievement for that.
I know what you're talking about.
It hit him in the head with a cannon, and I was like, all right, cool. I didn't even think that would be a thing, but here we are. And so that was pretty fun. So then I just started throwing everything at him, and that just pissed him off.
There's a couple goofy achievements in here. I know one of them, I got a couple of them that were really weird because I didn't even think about it, but one of them is like rolling a barrel down a hill and blowing up like 5 barnacles at once or something.
Yeah.
It's super hard to get. Yeah.
There's one spot, apparently, I think you can do it, or you can knock where the game's set up for it. I didn't do it, but I was watching YouTube, and I'm like, oh, yep. Well, I don't look up any videos anymore. Like, I don't give a shit about achievements. I don't look up any of that stuff. I don't look at what the achievements are. I just play the game. If I get them, oh, cool. If I don't get them, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the days of me caring are long gone about that. There were days when I cared.
Yeah.
But those days are thankfully gone. But I can see. But yeah, there's cool. There's a lot of interesting stuff that this game did. And Joe, I saw you put the post in the chat showing like the newspaper clip talking about when the Earth surrendered. It does do a cool thing where it does have all these context clues and information is in the world, but most of it isn't given to you straight out, which I think my lizard brain needed it to be given to me straight out because I wasn't going to go looking for it.
Oh no, it perfectly makes sense because it also goes into a really weird Star Wars tangent that I have. Like, I think it wasn't until recently I didn't find out that like what is it in the prequels, the 4, 5, and 6. Stormtroopers weren't clones anymore; they're actually just people. I didn't know that until like recently. Yeah. But like,
to
same
be
thing.
Fair, they might have been clones when he wrote the first movie, and then it got changed. So
yeah, but same thing with this. They never really confirm if the Combine are human or not, or if
they're
it's
human.
Just like, yeah.
I don't know where. I was watching a YouTube video like lore. I was wondering about that, but all the soldiers who beat the shit out of you and you murder are all humans that have submitted to the Combine in exchange for more privileges and found out sexual pleasure too. So it was in the video, so I had to mention it.
With an alien, like a William Shatner kind of thing, or
no? From what something about a stimulant. They give you a stimulant to make you feel like it's sex, because there is no sex anymore, really, because there's a stasis field, which they mentioned throughout the game a lot about. There's a stasis field where humans can't reproduce anymore.
Nothing surprises me anymore. I just found out on Helldivers they banned sex in the game, so
I saw that. Except it didn't really ban. Well, I don't know if you can in the game, but yeah, like you lost this major battle. No more people anymore. Sucks to be.
They banned lore-wise. They banned sex, which is really funny. But
Helldivers 2 just is hilarious listening about it.
Yeah, but there's all kind of goofy stuff going on, because of course you start off the game with showing up, and you already tell it's super. What is it like?
Dystopian.
Dystopian, super space dystopian. People aren't allowed to bring their luggage with them, even though they're traveling to the cities, and they're very specifically looking for Gordon Freeman. It's funny that you mentioned drones, Ian, because you also get your fucking picture taken every 5 seconds in the opening and get blinded by these asshole fucking drones.
I was wondering what's the point of that. Like, because later on you see them too. Like, I was wondering if they trigger more enemies to spawn, or I had no idea. I just murdered them when I saw them.
I think it's more of like a CCTV. We're watching you.
Okay.
Kind of like Big Brother sort of thing.
Probably all just more for like, because I also didn't realize, like, I always thought G-Man had something to do with the Combine, but he doesn't, because he's the one that puts you in this world to cause trouble.
He, as far as I'm sure lore-wise, what it is someone has hired you, or which it could be the government for all we fucking know. It's never really fully explained as far as I know. Someone hired you to stop the Combine.
Okay.
So that's why, who's the big asshole bad guy in this game?
Dr. Zhivago, or whatever that guy is.
I don't know what his name is.
Dr. Breen, I think it is.
Yeah.
Dr. Breen mentions a lot where he knows who sent you, and he kind of knows about the G-Man, and that's why whenever you show up, he's like, oh, we're fucked. Guys need to kill him right now. Like right now.
He also worked at Black Mesa. So did the doctor that's a traitor you find out about later. Mm-hmm. So are the two doctors that you do talk to in this game. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. They're all survivors in the Black Mesa incident.
Well, yeah, you say them every 5 minutes.
You do see them a lot.
Yeah.
More than I wanted to.
Kind of reminds me of, what's his name? Paul Ryan or whatever from BioShock.
Andrew Ryan.
Andrew Ryan.
Yeah. The way I always see it is, I think that the main bad guy's name is Dr. Breen. It's very much implied he's not a scientist. He's just some rich asshole who was your boss at Black Mesa.
So just like real life.
Yeah. And everyone actually fucking hated him, which is even funnier too.
From what the video told me, he was a scientist, and the UN just said, here, help us get peace, and then he submitted the entire human race to the Combine because they had no chance of winning, what the internet said.
That sounds about right.
It sounds right.
I also, like, another thing I didn't realize in this is that, like, the whole, which makes sense from, if you're going to take over a planet and you're going to, like, the whole thing with, like, the luggage, what they're doing is they keep moving people, like, no one stays in the city. You're separated from your families, so that way people can't build connections and can't revolt because they're not around each other long enough. They're all put in, just random housing, and then they're with these people for a little bit, then they're brought to the next place, and they're constantly being moved and moved and moved. Like, there's some really interesting things that it talks about in the story that I didn't catch at all.
Barney talks about having a daily beating quota.
I mean, you got to do something with your time.
But it's also, that's how you this is how you break down a civilization, if that's what you're trying to do. Like, this is totalitarian type bullshit that you have to do, especially if you're an alien power and want to stay in power.
I'm thinking about it because we're talking about when this game is from. This is around the time of, like, Call of Duty 2 as well. Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3. And what else? I think what Left 4 Dead came out. So no, maybe that was a little bit
Left 4
later.
Dead's later because Left 4 Dead 360. I think it's 07. I think for Left 4 Dead.
That sounds about right. Because this was around the time that people were like, "What, you want to have another game next year and then the year after?" And people were losing their mind around that time because I think Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty kind of started that trend, and I think Valve was like, "Oh." I think that just scared them to death. And they're like, you want us to make another what? No. Everything stops at 2 for us. We don't have a third finger.
Which I just find hilarious that we've never gotten anything and made it to 3. But that, I think like your Half-Life, we won't get a Half-Life 3 until there's a reason for them to make a third one. Like something, the technology has to go to the next level for them to come back to this.
But I mean, that was 20 years. It has. We've had like 3 console generations since then.
Yeah, but I think they need something. I also think they don't need to because they make enough money.
Ugh, I hate that argument. It's the same as like with George R.R. Martin. Well, I made all my money. I don't need to finish my trilogy. Dude, it.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't like it either, but I think that plays a part in it. Like, I feel like with Valve, they make so much money off Steam and the marketplace are like, we don't really need to do anything. Like, we don't need to make games. Because we're a profitable company just like this way. We might lose money if we make a game because we'll spend money and not, but it's like, yes, but you made a story, finish your fucking story. But yeah, no, I'm with you, Jar Martin, too. Like, he should have finished those damn books. Like, you're an author. Like, you promised your readers, here, the book will end. Nah, I got a TV show. I'm fine. We're done. So.
Stop playing with your damn train in New Mexico and right.
Plus, I'm a podcaster. I consider myself an artist, but it's like, I want to create stuff. I don't understand that. Like, if I was I also wanted to be a published author. If I wrote a book and was writing a series, I'd want to finish. I wouldn't want to be like, nah, I know you guys enjoyed it and I made tons, when you bought millions, I'm just done. I don't care anymore. Like, wouldn't you want to finish your story? But I guess for him, he feels like he finished it in the show, so he don't care.
Terrible.
I know the
story. That's a whole different podcast, I imagine.
But no, I mean, I just don't care. I mean, we do have Half-Life Episode 1 and 2, which continues some of the story. We have Half-Life Alyx, which takes place in this world. But I don't know anything about Alyx.
Released the script for Half-Life 3?
They released the script for Half-Life 3.
Oh, so that's not a good sign.
Can't find out what happened.
Someone leaked it like years ago, and then someone wrote it into like a book, and it's called something goofy, and all the characters are gender swap. I want to say we might be getting it because as much as it's kind of not. Half-Life Alyx ends up being a prequel sequel where the entirety of the game happens, and then the very last credit stinger takes place after Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and they kind of confirm like a big major plot point that's going to happen, and it's like, why would you release that if you guys don't have plans on making Half-Life Episode 3?
You know what would be interesting if they did. So speaking of like authors and G-Man and all that, so Randall Flagg from Stephen King, how he appears in all the different books and he's the big bad for everything. It'd be interesting if they did that with the G-Man. He just appears in all the different Valve games, just kind of like tying them together. Like at the end of, if we ever get a Left 4 Dead 4 or 3, which would be super awesome because that Back to Blood or whatever it was just so bad. At the end, here's the G-Man. He created the zombie plague.
I think we have a better chance of getting something from the Portal series than we do ever seeing Left 4 Dead again.
Portal had an ending, so we're fine. Oh, actually, you know what? We did get... You're completely wrong, Mike. You have a Steam Deck, right?
Yeah, Aperture Desktop, which I haven't played yet.
You need to play that. That may or may not tease another Portal game. But
okay, if you are telling me you want a podcast about it, then it might happen sooner.
Sure, because the whole point of that is to play that on your Steam Deck, and it uses all the Steam Deck functions, like moving everything around, and I think it even uses the back buttons for different buttons.
Wow, no one uses those back buttons. Okay. Yeah. When it came out and I got it with my Steam, came to the Steam Deck, I'm like, all right, I was curious about it, but I also, other people I knew didn't have a Steam Deck now, but now it's been a couple years. A lot of people I know have Steam Decks, so yeah, I should do that. I think it's been a couple years, or maybe it's been a year, I don't know, but people have it. That I talked to, like Nate, you. So, all right. Like, man, we are not talking about Half-Life 2 at all in this episode.
It's fine. The game doesn't really have a lot of meaning. A lot of it's a lot linear, especially with stuff that happens. I mean, you start off with, like we talked about, you have Gordon in the train, everything's dystopian, and he eventually gets to the other doctor that's bald, and Barney's there, and one thing people always seem to forget too, which is funny, is that both Half-Life and Portals do take place in the same universe because they're competing to make a functioning portal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they end up trying to teleport Gordon Freeman, and it ends up not working because the stupid ass doctor has a head crab in his lab. That ruins everything.
You know, I can completely see somebody doing that. Like, here you got this alien life form, so we find a way to make it not murder us, and then we just, keep it as a pet. Like, I get it.
Full offense, those things are wonky looking. Like, they're basically like the alien equivalent of like a hairless cat. Like if you watch them walk, they walk like with their asses up in the air, and it's just like the funniest fucking thing ever.
I fucking hate head crabs in this game so much.
They're tough to hit, and that's what makes them so frustrating.
I also had a hard time seeing in this game sometimes. Like, it would get really dark.
Well, again, it was that era of like post PS1 where, we're still figuring things out. And well, if it's dystopian, everything has to be brown and gray and sad, and color doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We also don't tell people where to go.
Yeah, I mean, I usually did all right, but I missed markers and I missed maps, but I know that's not what this game. I mean, this game tries to have a more immersive experience than that without a lot of HUD stuff.
Can we talk about they're not technically on rail, but they're on rail. The segments where it just went in, where you're on the little hoverboat, you're in the little dune buggy, where it was like, oh my God, this does not need to be this long. Like, what were they trying to? It wasn't like it was hiding loading screens or something. It was just long.
It was just, we can do it, so we're gonna do it.
And then
that was all it was.
You have different segments where like you think it's over, and then you go and do stuff. It's like, nope, you just gotta go back and get in your dune buggy, and then keep driving, or the boat.
They're too long.
Think about was Arkham Knight, where your anchor is the Batmobile, and it was the same thing here. Where I think at one point there was where you're in the water, and you have to like activate some kind of like, I don't know, ramp or something to jump from one area into the next. And I somehow made it up into the area you're supposed to jump into, and I looked down the long tube, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna need the little boat for this. I can't just hoof it, because I'm either gonna die or I'm gonna be here until next year. And it was just so much. And I think that was one of the things that initially drained me on this game, was just the massive amount of time I spent just driving through nothing to get to the next small, bottleneck, just to go to the next long segment of nothing.
That's fair. The driving sections, in my opinion, were too long. Also, I got tired of them. And there are lots of spots where you have to get off and go do something, then get back into your vehicle, and then you don't really realize when you're even done with the vehicle. Like, yeah.
There's a whole segment where you get off the buggy and you go through like an entire bridge to like deactivate like a fucking the wall. Yeah, and then you have to jump. You have to go back.
Yeah, I did not appreciate that part.
It was like a dock that you initially jumped out onto, right?
Yeah.
And then you went through that whole complex just to, wind up back on the outside on that catwalk, something that, spit you back out on that dock. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Here we are.
I know at one point I had to, like, you have to pick up your buggy with a magnet and then knock a bridge over to get across. And I'm like, this is just like, there are certain times, there was a point in this game where I had to pull up a guide or I would not have, like, my brain just was not figuring out, like, what to do. Like, there was one part where I started stacking boxes thinking I had to get up this ladder because the ladder had a lock gate around the bottom part of it. So I'm like, okay, I gotta stack enough crates so I can get above and jump to the top. And I keep doing this and it will not work. And then I realized, there's a lock on this ladder. And I just shot the lock and went, oh. I was there for a good 20 minutes.
Now, I don't blame you for that, Mike, because, I mean, at this point, that even, like they say, even now, it's 2024. I cannot think of a single current game where you can shoot the fucking lock off. Even modern games, like right now in 2024. There's not a lot where you can play and it's like, oh, you just got to shoot the lock off. And you can just go on through. No, it's always like, no, you have to go find the key that's up like something's ass, and you have to like kill like 30 enemies to get it.
I feel like I played stuff that had this feature, but I can't think of it.
Well, you also run a podcast full of old games, so if you think about it, it might be a game that's actually from like 10, 20 years ago.
I don't play anything from current day, so
yeah,
you know that. I mean, I did.
Metal Gear 2 came out in what, like 2001, 2002? Metal Gear Solid 2, right? And that was the one where like everything was destructible. And then, because kind of even going back to BioShock, like BioShock Infinite or something, I remember shooting just random like fruit when you're walking through Colombia, and I thought, wow, this does nothing. Like, I shot a bird and it just had a bullet hole in it and it flew away. like one of the wall pockmarked bullet holes. And it was just weird. At that time, people were doing so many cool things in game just with the environment. And now it's like, oh, I shot up the wall, and the wall just said, cool, thank you for playing, continue on your way. There's nothing, I wonder what got lost, where people were like, yeah, we don't need to try that hard.
Now we just got to hire, more people and spend millions of dollars on the game, and then get upset when the game doesn't make 300, 400, 500 million in a day. So that's all.
Yeah.
Square Enix.
Now, well, it goes both ways. You could have the best game looking ever, but then people want to ask, why can't Spider-Man buy a hot dog or ride the train, and then give it bad reviews because they're fucking weird.
He's a vegetarian and he has a driver's license, so he doesn't need either of those.
He does not have a driver's license. He's Spider-Man, so I don't know why he needs to ride the train.
That's true too.
But I do like a lot of this stuff. I think one thing that I think is always my favorite thing, because I think the correct term for this game now, which also hurts my fucking feelings, is a boomer shooter.
I don't think this is considered a boomer shooter, because that's more like a Doom clone.
I think it's considered a boomer shooter because at the end of the day, you do fight tons of enemies. It does involve you. It's less about taking cover and more about using what you have on you. And this game,
but Call of Duty, you don't take cover behind anything. You just stand there and say, "Pow pow! I absorbed the bullet." Pow,
yeah,
pow.
no, I'm pretty sure boomer shooters are more stuff that's that would look like a Doom clone, that type of style.
I guess, but I
think that's the definition of it.
Either way, I like a lot of the weapons in this game. I feel like you probably could have lost, because there's 4 directions. You could have lost one from each one and still have been fine. As much as I am a Magnum slut, I do think that the Magnum's kind of fucking pointless in this, especially because the damn thing only carries 18 rounds.
Are you talking about the pistol?
Oh, there's a Magnum.
The revolver.
Oh, the revolver only. Oh, gotcha. Okay, sorry.
It does kill people fast, though.
It does kill people fast, but you don't find a lot of ammo for
them.
it.
Yeah, that was the issue for me too. I couldn't fucking hit them because, especially now. I remember trying to shoot head crabs with the revolver. I'm like, well, this is pointless. Just like miss.
That's a beautiful waste of ammo, by the way.
Oh, so much ammo wasted trying to hit those fuckers.
I don't. It's not that I don't like it. I just think it's weird to have 2 different versions of a machine gun in the game. One being a light machine gun and one being a weird alien pulse rifle.
No, that's fair. You also don't really get any alien weapons. You get that one and then that's it.
Oh, I count the weird, which sucks because it stops working after a while. The
antlion thing?
Yeah, the antlion pheromones.
I didn't like that.
I didn't understand how it worked. They just came to you. It didn't matter if I threw it or not. They were kind of there.
If you throw it, they're more directed towards whatever you throw it at.
Yeah, I got that, but I thought that it summoned them also, and it didn't seem to do that. They just kind of came to you.
Yeah, they're just in the game at that point.
And then they disappear after that point, too, which I think it's kind of shitty, but it's whatever. I mean, it makes sense why they wouldn't be there.
Actually, I have 2 issues with weapons in this game. One, there's no sniper rifle. I understand that the crossbow was a consolation for one.
It's your sniper in this game,
but it still followed the rule of it's a crossbow bolt. It's gonna start to arc down dramatically at some point, and so it wasn't as reliable. My second was anything from farther than 10 feet away, you couldn't hit, regardless of what you were using. And to the point of the submachine gun and the regular assault rifle, neither of those helped. And at some point in the game, about 3/4 of the way through, stuff starts getting real far away, and you just can't hit it. And it was so frustrating.
And they have sniper rifles that they fight you with at certain points. I didn't have any issue with the crossbow. I also love the fact that it actually impales people to the wall. Oh, that
was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that by accident a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
I also kind of like the idea of it becoming superheated whenever you put it in the gun too. I like weird, goofy shit like that because of BioShock. And I wish this game could have been like that. Like, I'm fine with an assault rifle, but they should have just given you the alien assault rifle to begin with.
Yeah, there should have been more alienish weapons, and there wasn't much. It was very human, but I think that was kind of the point. One thing that made me laugh that I have to mention I forgot about, but I watched a speed run. The way when you pick up the turrets, it's just like when you pick up the turrets in Portal, except they don't go, "Oh no, what are you doing? Put me down." but they say something when you pick them up, I think. But it was like, I'm like, this is the same exact, like, style, like the same engine. Because the way they handle is exactly the same way as Half-Life. Like, I was like, that's cool. I mean, I played Portal first, so for me, it's like, well, it's how they played in Portal.
It was weird. It seemed like they wanted you to use the turrets after you cleared them to, like, use them to fight. But it seemed like 75% of the time you'd clear out the area around the turret, and they're like, cool, thanks.
You can't use the turrets because unless set for the point of the game when it wants you to, because otherwise they try to shoot you no matter what.
Yeah,
they don't go after the enemies except for the parts of the game. You can just I just like how you just either blow them up or get behind them and pick them up and throw them. I just love that. They just fall down. They do the exact same thing as Portal. They just shoot until they just stop working. And I'm like, this is amazing.
I know it's kind of a dumb thing to complain about. I kind of wish which it works because of what it is, and I'm sure it's because of testing. I kind of wish the rocket launcher had like 5 shots instead of 3.
It's not enough. I think it's designed that way because there were times where you can't kill stuff with 3 no matter what. It has to be 4. They did that on purpose, so that way you only can do it when they want you to get rocket.
The regular ships take 3 hits.
Oh, they do?
I was playing on easy. They took 3 hits.
Of course, I was playing easy too. Yeah. Again, I appreciate that. I don't think Half-Life 1 had a difficulty selection, if I remember correctly. Maybe it did.
Actually, to that point, that was my biggest problem with using mouse and keyboard is I don't... I know there's people out there that are like, mouse and keyboard is the best, blah, blah, blah. Cool, do your thing. It's the dumbest way of playing something like this, especially when it's like multiple things going on at the same time. I just want to hit A or X or, whatever, and open up the crate. I don't want to have like 6 fingers on the keyboard trying to figure out where everything is to open up a crate, be moving, getting shot at, getting out of the way, reloading. And it drove me nuts. And there was that time when you were breaking into the prison where there was like, I don't know, drop ships and a tripod and a couple other things. And I'm just trying to get to the ammo crate. And I get to the ammo crate and it was so much going on where it was like, if I had a controller, I could be moving so much more freely right now. And it drove me up the wall. And then kind of going to the rocket thing, those rockets drove me nuts until I kind of figured out you have to shoot the rocket about 100 yards behind them and then swing them around to attack the drop ships, because otherwise they'll do that thing where the missile veers off into nothing.
It's all based on where your red mark is on the ship, so you have to like shoot it and then lock onto the ship and hold it there while the ship is shooting at you to get it to curve and hit it. Otherwise, the ships will shoot it down. Yeah, and I was like, this is insane. It doesn't explain that well. No, the guy told me what to do. That's how I knew about it. So... Because I got to that point, I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh yeah, here, shoot next to it. Don't shoot at it. I'm like, all right.
The game tells you when you go over there. Yeah, when you go over there and talk to Commander Doofenshmirtz, or whatever the fuck his name is, he tells you, he's like, here's a laser propelled rocket or whatever. You use it on the ships, and the laser's there so you can get around their defenses. So you're supposed, it kind of low key tells you you're supposed to. What I see people do on speedrun and stuff is you shoot it and then you spin your mouse in like a spiral, and then it dodges out of the way and eventually hits the whatever.
Okay. Oh, and Ian, I have to ask: did the controller not work on this game?
You mean like an Xbox controller kind of thing?
Yeah,
it does, but I wanted to experience this the way that it would have been played 20 years ago.
I was curious.
And so, there was point I'm not going to lie. There was points where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to plug in the Xbox controller and say, F it. I'm going from here. But I persevered. I did it. And I'm never doing it again.
Okay. I was going to say, otherwise it does get better because I hated it at first. But I will only play first-person shooters on mouse and keyboard when able to. I don't even play on my Steam Deck because I want the mouse and keyboard feel.
And I get it. Like, and each one has its drawbacks. With the controller, especially when you're looking, unless you kind of have that sticky snap aim, it's pretty tough to play against somebody on a PC that has the mouse where you can zero in exactly. But I don't have to worry about WASD moving my person around. I can just move my thumb left, right, up, down, whatever, and get there. So like I said, I wanted to experience it all the way for the first time. Glad I did it. I'm never doing it again because I'm an old man and that's what I do.
It's really an adjustment if you're not used to it. But also don't ever play Stalker like that for the first time because good luck. But also, Stalker is fucking hard as hell. But like So I get that. Like, I played a lot of shooters now on this podcast with mouse and keyboard, so I'm used to it. Where this game didn't bother me, but I completely can understand. I completely get that. But knowing Valve, it's probably like customized for controller too. Had you plug it in, it would have just worked for you.
Nope.
It doesn't?
I wanted to, thankfully I can compare to y'all. This game is meant to play on mouse and keyboard. I say that because there's 5 buttons that specifically don't work, and I could not figure out how to bind them to the controller, and it kept fucking it up. One example is the flashlight. I had no flashlight button on my controller. I had to manually do it with my keyboard.
Wait, did you try clicking like R3 or L3 or something like that?
It literally popped up as not bound on my controller.
Interesting.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's weird because you can go, Steam has it to where you can go into, like, you can set up the controller through Steam for games and do this other stuff. Because I did that after I played it for the first time, because I played an hour into it and then I played it again the next day. So I had to turn down the stick sensitivity because the game was way too fast. And then the flashlight was not bound. The weapons for both vehicles were not bound. And then I completely fucked that up. I didn't even know how I got that to work. And then the one that's really important, but really isn't, but it's whatever. There's nothing bound to control the, whenever you start getting companions and you can have people follow you.
I squad orders or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I never did any of that, but yeah.
There's nothing bound for squad orders. So they basically just get their asses eaten anytime they follow you because they're stupid and don't know what they're doing.
They're in the wrong game then. That's what they're doing.
I wonder why it's like that. I'm surprised. Like, I know the Xbox has to be, coordinated for control, but I'm surprised they didn't do that because Steam is usually pretty good.
I might need to fucking see if Steam needs an update or something.
No, it's probably they just don't care with this game. They're like, well, play a PC, guys. Fuck you.
Yeah, probably.
Or just you figure it out yourself. Like, 'cause Steam does give you enough options. But yeah, that usually, like, for me, usually when I plug in a controller I play a lot of PC games, it just works.
Well, see, here's the issue that I was having is, like, so basically you can go into Steam. So if you open up Steam and go to the library, you go to Half-Life, and you can pick controller settings. And when you go to controller settings, it goes, oh, hey, what do you want to bind to the buttons? And so it says Y button's not being used on the remote. What do you want to bind it to? And I was like, okay, then I'll make that the machine gun for the boat or whatever. And it just wouldn't let me. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just go fuck myself. But when I went to the game, it worked. So, like, I don't know how I got it to work. It just did. And when I went back, it didn't show that it was working. But when I was in game, it did. So I was like, whatever, fuck it then. I'll just leave it like that. But yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird.
I mean, it could also be because it's a 20-year-old game and they didn't anticipate, the controller needs for, 2024.
I play 20-year-old games on this podcast with PC and Steam plugged controller and it worked.
Yeah, Steam has a bunch of, like, even this one has a preset Xbox and PlayStation controller. Like I said, it was just something through Steam where I couldn't bind certain buttons, and wow,
that sucks.
Maybe it just didn't like you.
It's like, you have to play this the way we wanted you to play this.
Oh no, trust me, technology hates me. I have like the weirdest luck.
Like we're having to wait at Little Caesars, huh? Recently, when we were recording, we were hot and fresh and ready, and not for you when you went there.
Seriously,
wasn't ready. Nor fresh, probably. But...
Oh no, I legitimately came home. I don't think I told you that either. I came home and I think I was watching the movie and I heard my husband go, "Son of a bitch." And I lean over and I go, "What?" And he's like, "They didn't fucking cut this goddamn pizza."
See, that's what you get for going to Little Caesars, okay? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Every time I eat Little Caesars. Every time my wife is like gone for the night, like with her friends or somewhere she's drinking, so I don't have to worry about. And I'll be like, I can go get dinner, and I don't want to cook. I'm gonna get a shitty Little Caesars pizza and some shitty wings. I'm gonna eat them. And I'm gonna feel sick after an hour every time it happens. And I still do it. I'm just like, it's cheap, it's quick. That's not that cheap, but it's quick. It's near me. I just go pick it up. I eat it, and because I'm not gonna feed that to her. She's gonna be like, "What are you trying to do? Poison me?" I'm like, apparently, I bought you Little Caesars.
That's why you have that life insurance policy from 2 years ago.
Little Caesars. So
yeah. That just triggered a memory. I remember like 12 years ago when I was in college, and they had that Little Caesars has that lunch deal with like that little pepperoni pizza bread thing that they had. That was like, I don't know, cut up into 6. But remember, I get that and a soda for like $5 and go home and watch replay from Game Informer, and that was my Saturday afternoon. It was fantastic, and man, I miss doing that now.
Did it come with stomach problems after you get done eating the food?
Yeah, it was Little Caesars.
I was an assistant manager at Little Caesars, sort of. I got hired for the job, but I never actually took the job because I'm going to tell the story. Who cares? We're ranting anyway in this podcast, this episode. I was hired at Little Caesars, but I didn't really want the job because I was trying to get a different job at the time at the Mall of America, and I was kind of waiting for them to do the paperwork. So I was like, okay, yeah, I need a job. I'll take this. And I go to the store. I meet the manager. He's like, hey, man, I'll give you a call later this week, and we can set up, paperwork. I'm like, all right, cool. Never calls me, and then 2 weeks later, the regional manager calls me. He's like, "Well, do you want to work for us or what?" I'm like, "Your guy was supposed to call me. He never did, but I took a different job, so I'm okay." I just remember that you could just tell he was irritated. I'm just like, "You guys never." And then that Little Caesar doesn't even exist anymore. It got closed down. But it's just like you say if you're. I mean, also when I went in there, everybody smelled like weed too, which I thought was hilarious too. But it's just like I didn't even want the job. Had I actually cared, I would have pursued it. But I'm like, I want this other job. I don't really want to do food again, especially not Little Caesars. I also worked at Domino's once for a day for 2 hours, and I quit. I remember I came in, I folded pizza boxes. They were going to hire me as an assistant manager, but the Domino's we'll make you an assistant manager, but we're going to hire you as the low pay grade, and you got to take these tests and work your way up. And I'm like, no, I don't like this idea, and I got a different job and took that step. So.
That's not hiring you as an assistant manager. That's hiring you as a entry-level person with the ability to get promoted. That's everybody.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. And they were also talking to me hey, you're going to be the assistant manager. It would go about 30 days where I have to get things, take these tests, get promoted real quick. And then it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, just promote me and pay me now and I might stay. We're going to start you at $8 an hour and then work your way up. You'll be at 12 within 2 months. I'm like, pay me 12. What the fuck, guys? You're a corporation. You have money. I know you don't know it, but you have money. It was the weirdest thing. But yeah, that's enough pizza rant for us.
Pizza rant brought to you by Half-Life 2.
Hey, that's because Dan's not. Because Dan's the one passionate about this game. I'm glad I do want to talk about Ravenholm. Ravenholm is the one thing that I knew about this game forever because people always talk about it. Fucking creepy. I didn't realize the lore of it. I was watching a video where the idea it was a town that was set up by humans outside where the Combine wanted people to be, because the Combine's the one that makes all the cities and they move people around and they control it. This was a town that was off the grid, essentially. They got found out, and the Combine decided to, instead of the way of murdering everybody, was to just send loads of head crabs into the town to kill everyone.
Huh. That's
why everything is head crab, because they just threw head crabs in there to kill everybody.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't enjoy that part very much. It also started to wear the gimmick wore thin, where I'm tired of getting attacked from behind by something magically appearing. And I'm ready to be done now and go to whatever the next place was. That was post sewers.
Yes, it's after the whole boat thing, I think, right?
Yeah.
But pre D-Day.
Yeah, Ravenholm is such an interesting part because I very specifically love that part of this game because of me being a huge horror fan. I also, funny enough, it's where the game kind of sets it up to where before Ravenholm you get the gravity gun and you kind of get a weird demo of what it can do and things like that. So a lot of the setup for, which is even weirder because I imagine if you didn't have it, the whole area would be even harder. But having I think a lot of it's just interesting, having the buzzsaws that are around. You can pick them up and shoot them 30 miles an hour. There's there's traps where you can set people on fire. One of them specifically on purpose, and I don't know if you heard of this, where there's very specifically a zombie in a cage. He's not going anywhere with anything.
Yes.
You can set him on fire and he screams for a solid 5 minutes. And you can actually go to YouTube and look it up, and it's a scream that's reversed and slowed down, and it's actually someone screaming in agony and pain. Yeah,
I did burn them.
When you get to that dude's stronghold, where it's the opening is surrounded by fire.
Yeah, but funny enough, I also think that if it wasn't for Half-Life 2, we wouldn't have gotten a really bunch of good indie horror games. Because I know weirdly enough, a lot of weird indie horror games that use Gary's mod and use a lot of the zombies without the head crabs on them and stuff like that as horror games. So I'll also have to give this game that as well. Yeah, but I
do kind of like low budget horror games, to be honest with you. They could be interesting. I don't like horror games normally, but
there's one that's super weird that was really popular back then. I can't remember what it's called, but the twist. I just remember that the twist is basically fucks up the whole game. what is it? And then all kinds, you have all kind of other stuff where it introduces a whole different head crab where once they've been around for a while, they get fast and then their head crabs get skinny. And the only thing that I can complain, which y'all both will probably super 100% agree with me, is I hate the fact that sometimes they can poison you and drop you down to 1 health, and sometimes they don't.
I don't understand that mechanic.
Is it the gray ones that do it?
The black ones are more spider-like.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid because then you get your health back anyway. Like the system goes, inserting neurotoxin. I'm like, yeah, it was just annoying because I guess the idea is that you're supposed to be, scared because you're at 1 HP and you will die next hit if you get hit quickly. But
you're also sometimes surrounded too.
Yeah, Ravenholm did last a little too long. I got really, really stuck where I had to watch a video because I was missing a lever in a spot that I walked by 10 times, by the way, and just never saw the lever.
It was in that. Was it in that area where, kind of going back to where the dude in the cage that you burned alive was? That was the one area that I got real stuck in and just had to watch what happened. Because there was that long hallway that had the gas where you could turn it on and off, and at the end there was the electrified fence.
And you had
that area was a little weird.
Jump up blue boxes to get up, which I also didn't realize till way later.
I didn't realize that you had to get up on the roof and start walking across.
It wasn't until the guide. Well, no, I found the blue crates by accident, and then I got on top of the roof. But then I never moved the lever, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I looked online, and the guy's like, oh, you're gonna go press the lever over by this room, and I'm like, I don't understand. I had to watch a video and go, and that's when I realized I walked by the lever many, many times. I just didn't notice it was there. Because nothing stands out because it's not that type of game. It doesn't have. Yeah. I want icons on my things. I want something going over here, dumbass. Like, I need that. Like something. Like I want mini map like Assassin's Creed, where I'm like, oh yeah, it's around here. Something.
That was also the one area I kind of ran out of ammo. Ravenholm was the only area in the game that I had ammo management issues, where I was pretty close a few times.
It's designed that way because you're like most of the game, you're fighting enemies that drop ammo, so you can always refill while you murder everybody. But in Ravenholm, you're fighting zombies. They don't have ammo. So I guess the idea is also you're supposed to use a lot of like the saw blades and other things around you to kill the zombies.
Yes.
They also don't stop spawning, by the way. I found out.
Which is also fun.
In that in that circle area that we're talking about, they keep spawning because my ass was in there for a good half an hour trying to figure out what to do, and they just never stop spawning. So I'm like, oh, did something new open up? Did they knock a door open? I'm like, nope, just gotta keep looking and then keep looking. I'm like, okay, this is getting annoying. So, yeah. But no, Raven, it's definitely a unique area. It felt good to finally experience this, and people have talked about it for years on the internet, and I never understood it. I mean, I knew what it was, but I hadn't experienced it yet.
There's also a crazy priest in game that no one talks about, which is also great.
Well, that's true.
He's the only guy left of this town, and
Does he go down fighting at the end when you leave him in that graveyard?
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
What happens to him?
No, he just fucks off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought he died.
No, you hear him laughing and shooting in the distance. He's fine.
I still thought he died while laughing. I mean, living alone like that. I mean, especially surrounded by people you used to know that are now zombies. Like your mental state has to be just gone at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we've seen that in plenty of things. At this, Last of Us and a couple others where there's just the one person left, and they're like, oh, you're a cannibal now. Oh, you super gone crazy being surrounded by these things. Good for you. All right.
I mean, it would do it to you. I mean, you put people in a post-apocalyptic, situation like that, like, bad shit's gonna happen.
You mean they're not living normal, well-adjusted lives surrounded by dead things?
No. And cannibal, I think cannibalism actually fucks with your body too.
Yes.
Okay, like eating human meat is not what we're designed to do.
I'm really enjoying the weird off tracks we're taking on this conversation.
Yeah, it really is.
No, that's fine. We're not supposed to eat human. We're not supposed to eat human meat because it's the same thing as us. So if you eat human meat, you can also catch a disease or any sickness the person has. That's why we eat like other animals, because we can't catch diseases that a cow has or a chicken has. But that's also how mad cow disease happened, because it's from cows eating other cows.
Oh,
tasty.
Okay, I know the swine flu came from a pig was sick with the flu, or a guy had the flu and somehow he gave it to the pig, and that's how somehow like that we got swine flu.
I think it was his wife, sir.
I don't remember what but yeah, just something like that. But okay, I just always remember because in Book of Eli, there's cannibals and the hand starts shaking and he's like, "They're cannibals," and that's how they realize it.
That movie's so good.
That movie's a long time, but that's always stuck with me, and that's how I know that eating human meat is bad for you. So, I was never going to try it, but that's how I knew. That's always stuck with me, that damn movie.
I think they call it long pig in some places in the world.
I mean, if you have apocalypse situation, like, it's going to happen, so it's not that surprising. Like, people got to eat. People are going to eat other people if they don't have a choice. So
that's true.
But
can we talk about the last level?
Sure. The Sanctuary, one of the better levels in the game, sort of.
See, I'm going to have to disagree hard with you there because that level made me want to throw my monitor. You know how I know that they knew that level was pure, flaming hot garbage? Was every time you turn around, there's one of those recharge stations that recharge your health and your shield all the way, or your suit, or your
constantly,
or whatever the hell it was, right? Because that gravity gun, not only did it have zero range on it, but it like the things were just you were constantly getting inundated with bullets and whatever else was going on. And it's just like I don't want my guns taken. I want to have it's one of those classic situations where the developers are like, we have this really cool thing. We know that you haven't really been using it, 80% of the game except for like puzzles, but here you go. This is all you have now. I was like, well, why are you forcing me to do this? It's like the end of Dark Souls where they want you to use the parry that nobody really used until the very last dude, or, whatever else games do it. I'm sure there's tons of them. I just can't think of it. But that drove me nuts. And I was like, I know they know that this is crap. They're forcing it on me, and they know it's crap because they keep recharging my health every time I turn around because they know that they've just beaten me to death and that they want me to go on to the next thing. That's my theory anyway.
Is this you talking about whenever you get like the supercharged gravity gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that part. I didn't have a problem with it. It's because they refilled my health constantly and the gun was decent enough that I had fun with it. I enjoyed grabbing guys and throwing guys.
Did you have fun going down that long hallway where there was the tripod at the end and there was like, you had the weird, drop pods along the whole way. And it was just like, that was when you first started getting those little blasty orb things that you could suck forward and then shoot out.
No, I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't mind any of the Sanctuary stuff. Like, I enjoyed it before you lose all your weapons. Like, it was just kind of cool to have a different environment for a change too.
I'm not a fan of horde modes. I hate when fucking horde mode stuff happens. And I know they give you like turrets, but those turrets get knocked out really easily and by the Combine soldiers.
Oh yeah, when you have to defend a location.
Yeah, I think I didn't have a hard time with the first one. I had a hard time with the second one because you had like 3 turrets, but there were 4 ways it could have come at you. And they
I know you're talking about, yeah.
In the prison.
Yeah, that part in the prison. But
the prison section at the end, I'm sorry. I hid in a cell. And I put 3 turrets in front of me in that cell.
You did it right.
That is a good way to do it.
You're not supposed. From what I was reading in the guide, is like I set up the turrets like the way I would think in a normal game. Like, okay, there's multiple spots. Put a turret here. Put a turret here. The guides, which I didn't bother with, is to set up a very small little area, and so all the turrets can cover each other, and then they will take out the people. Because apparently they need more than one to really to take out guys. So you need to be able to funnel the guys into one area, and then they'll all be murdered.
Those turrets, they could knock them over without a problem. If you tried to knock them over by shooting at them, they're just like...
You got to have a grenade.
That's fun.
You don't have explosives, they don't get knocked over.
Oh, no. There's super issues where, like, I would throw a grenade to, like, disarm the turrets, and they would literally fly 5 feet up in the air and then land perfectly back on their feet and go, okay, I'm still active. Yeah.
That was really annoying. I'd get irritated. No, you have 2 prison sequences. You have the one, because, like, for a good chunk of the story... After you get teleported and you run around through Ravenholm, and one of the doctors gets captured. Well, because you're gone for a week. Because when you teleport with Alex at one point, you're gone for a week, and then her father is captured. You go to a prison in Nova Prospect, wherever that is, to go rescue him, and then you find out he's not even there. Then you have to go to the Sanctuary eventually. Okay.
Well, I think lore-wise, the game, because I think they say in game and other stuff too. No one's. It's typical sci-fi bullshit. Oh, no one's ever made out of Nova Prospect. People go in, but no one ever comes out. And they kind of imply what happens to them because people get turned into like weird zombies that don't really get explained very well.
Well, they're just being. I mean, essentially, what the Combine is doing is using the planet for all its resources, and that includes people. Like, I didn't realize this, but the reason why you have all these empty trenches and boats everywhere is because they're sucking all the water out of the planet.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that until the internet told me. But that's what's going on. Like, that's why there's all these trenches, and that's why the ground is radioactive in certain spots. That they're just dumping stuff and taking resources. Because apparently the Combine are at war with other planets and other races and things throughout the galaxy, and they're just using Earth as a supply depot kind of thing.
They sound very antisocial.
There's a lot of lore, but it's not like I didn't catch any of it while playing the game. It was all from like there were multiple YouTube videos talking about different aspects of this game. And I'm like, damn, there's that much stuff going on.
Yeah, I remember back in the day. I'm not 100% sure. That's why I asked the group chat earlier. I think one of the things that's part of the lore is that the Combine were in control of the alien that you defeat at the end of Half-Life 1. And one of the other reasons why they're there is because they're pissed that you killed that alien and freed the Vortigons. Yeah.
I didn't know the Vortigons were under control until I watched a video about 10 minutes before this recording. So, because the Vortigons help you in this game, they they don't do a whole lot. They put a gun on your boat. Woo!
They also charge your armor.
Oh yeah, okay. They do a couple things, I guess. Not enough. I didn't the boat and the buggy. The buggy I hated more than the boat. Buggy I really did not like that buggy. It was too long. The antlions are very annoying too, which I found out were nothing to do with the Combine. They're just a random species of animals that ended up here when all the portals open up. That's why they kill everybody. Because apparently, when in Half-Life 1, when you did all your shit you opened portals up that shot all these different creatures into our planet.
Right.
So, yeah. All I was thinking was like, what's going on with Portal at this time? I want a time frame. Like, is Shell currently in prison right now? Like, is that what's going on?
There is a time frame. I think apparently it's probably during Half-Life 2 is when the events of spoilers for the other Half-Life game, for the Portal games. I think during Half-Life 2 is when GLaDOS starts killing everyone and filling all of it with fucking nerve toxin gas.
Okay, so that's when that's happening. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense. And then it's years later, and the world is like healing back up because Portal 2 you can tell it's been years.
Yeah, well, I take that back. I say Portal 2, but the event in Portal 2 where they talk about how GLaDOS killed everyone, or it's in Portal 1, I don't know which one it is, but yeah, the event where GLaDOS fills the entire push with neurotoxin at the same time as either Half-Life 1 or Half-Life 2, I don't remember. It's probably Half-Life 1 because, yeah.
Okay, because then they're still around where by the time Half-Life 2 came around, the Combine would have taken them over.
Mm-hmm. What was another thing too?
And in Half-Life 1 or Portal 1, they make a comment about Black Mesa, those idiots down there. So
yeah,
after Half-Life 1 happens, there's no Black Mesa anymore. So
and that Portal series is a big gap in my gaming.
Portal 2 is fucking amazing.
Everything Valve 2 is amazing.
Yeah, no. Portal 2 has probably one of the best storytelling games that I've ever played in my entire life.
You just trust me. Like I played it for the first time a few years ago for this podcast, and I was like, wow. So I mean, just play it. I know you probably have expectation of everything you heard, but I really enjoyed it a lot. So I highly recommend Portal 2.
I could be down with trying it.
So I played it twice actually for this podcast.
Yeah,
we did a recover on it too, which was odd because it wasn't that old of an episode.
But we jumped a little bit too further. But I like the part where as much as I do also agree that it's a complete like fuck uppery because you spend the whole game getting all these different guns and they get taken away. I do like the souped up gravity gun, and I do like I usually sometimes I have an issue where games will give you like a superpower weapon and you only have it for either like the final boss fight or you only have it for like 5 minutes. I think I was pretty okay with the time that you get with the super super gravity gun, I guess is what it's referred to.
I think you get enough of it. I was happy with it. I was also happy this game doesn't really have a final boss fight. It just has you shooting orbs into an elevator.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Like I hated the final boss fight in Half-Life 1. That big baby, I hated it. Like that was terrible for me. Like I didn't think I was going to beat the game because I was having so much problems. But thanks to saves coming, I was able to do it. But it's like that was ridiculous. So that was nice in this game that there wasn't any of that. Hell, you don't have to shoot the gunships at the end when the gunship is shooting. You can just if you just shoot your orbs at the elevator enough times, and you'll kill them before they kill you. So it'll be fine.
Blooming onion thing.
I think they die in one hit too. Anyways, if you do shoot them,
they do, but you got to hit them.
Yeah.
So when you're missing them, all of a sudden you run out of time. You get a game over. And you go, oh, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, that's what happened to me the first time. I went after the gunships and took out the gunships and went for the elevator, and I ran out of time at the last hit.
I couldn't figure out what it wanted me to do, and then I realized, all the other, flower petals have broken off except for this one. Why is that one bouncing around like a moron? And I just started shooting it. And, it's deflecting up into his little spinny bob, and I figured it out on accident. But
yeah, because you finally get to hunt down the dictator guy, the puppet, the human puppet, and then you blow him up, I guess, when he's trying to teleport to wherever the Combine are.
No, he gets away.
Oh, he did get away?
Does he get away?
No, I think you blow him up. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he gets pretty upset about it too.
Because you destroy the whole portal, you destroy their whole connection to the Combine. Because City 17, the city that you're in, is like the main city. Because I thought he was like the governor of this city or or mayor or whatever word you want to use, but he's actually the guy in charge of all the cities. He's in charge of the planet for the Combine.
Yeah, because he sold everybody out.
Yes, because they said do whatever you have to do for peace, and he got peace. Sort of. I don't know. It doesn't sound like much of a peace. Oh, like in the beginning, there's a context clue. When you first run into that woman when you get off the train, and she's like, "My husband was on the train with me, and they took him, and he's supposed to come on the next train. You're not allowed to have your relatives with you." And they screwed up because he wasn't supposed to be in the same train as her. And because of that, he was probably murdered. So, but it's just stuff like that. Like, I'm like, so many context clues of how terrible this world is, but nothing is like, and again, there are people I do like when games do that, but I think I need it to be more fed to me because I won't pay attention.
One thing that I think is funny, I sent y'all a picture of the big wall, which I think is in the main scientist's lab. I can't remember what his name is, but, Did y'all notice whenever he opens the door for the portal, for the first portal, like teleport, there's like a photo frame that's crooked, and it has everyone from Black Mesa, and I believe Dr. Breen is the guy who was taking over the world or helped the Combine take over the world. But the Dr. Breen's face is scratched out in the photo.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's funny.
I remember that because I think you can adjust it so that it's back level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. No, I didn't even catch that. I wasn't really paying attention to stuff like that. I was just trying to play the game. I mean, I enjoyed the gameplay. That's what I was here for, and I was mostly having fun.
It wasn't use a crowbar to beat anything to death because I tried once or twice and it just wasn't happening for me.
No, I only used it to break boxes and to break locks. Mostly, I just shot everything because I had enough ammo. Other than Ravenholm, I was fine. I think what else we shouldn't mention. Oh, and then as the game progresses, you fight other type of Combine, but you mostly just fight Combine. You have the tanks, and then you have the head crab zombie shit, and that's really it for enemies.
I think my favorite enemy so far is the sniper ones, only because whenever you actually throw a grenade in their hole, you hear them go, shit, and then you see them blow out the window.
I mean, that's fair. That's what, you're dead at that point. So, shit seems like a very word to use. Apparently in the lore, the SWAT guys you fight later on that actually do flank you, which I didn't realize.
The white armor guys? The white armor guys?
Probably them and the black armor guys you fight later, too.
Okay.
Apparently in the lore, they had their memories wiped, and that's part of the deal is that if you get more privileges and more power and more rewards if you have your memory wiped.
No.
I mean, to be fair, that might not be the worst thing in this world, considering that any loved ones you had, they're long gone. Hey, you get to erase your memory and just work for us. I mean, it's not a good society. Combine are terrible.
I'm curious if this game got remastered for. I mean, it would be 2025 when it came out, but I mean, I could see this game being remastered and just being really just a good, solid shooter if they kind of adjusted some stuff again, taking out a bunch of the traversal stuff. All right, instead of taking 2 minutes to get from point A to point B, it takes 30 seconds to get from point A to point B. Yeah, you could probably cut 4 hours from this game and be okay. But I think if they went back and took some modern sensibilities, because again, you can see the DNA of everything that's going on today in this game. But I don't know. I think that would be kind of an interesting thing. I think it would also be sacrilegious for a lot of people where they're like, no,
God, yes.
You can't do that.
This wouldn't be remade unless it was a fan. Half-Life 1 was remade in Black Mesa, which I do want to play someday. But you won't. This won't happen.
Also, so I'm not a PC gamer, if that's not completely readily apparent to anybody that's, listening. I've never been a PC gamer, right? The closest I've gotten is SimCity and what do I play now? City Skylines. I love city building simulators. So, in 2004 when these games came out, I didn't care. I didn't play it. I had a PlayStation 2. And so now I have a decent PC of a Nitro 5 from Acer or Asus. I can't ever remember. And so it's fascinating to just boot up Steam And then just within 30 seconds, I'm playing the game. Because I imagine back in the day, 2004, it would have taken a few minutes for this game to get up and running on the settings that I had it at. Because I can jack it up to maximum settings.
It had
and
to,
my PC's like, cool, we can also watch a movie and, do your taxes. And, so through the lens of 20 years, it's just like I feel very spoiled in that I can just boot it up, play it for 2 hours, shut it back down, and complain about it instead of like, okay, I've got to load it off of 27 floppy disks or whatever we were using at the time.
We're way past that, but yeah.
And run it on maximum settings and have zero problems with it. And it's kind of funny to think about that, if I told somebody, back in 2004, yeah, I can get it up and running in 20 seconds and not have a problem, they'd be like, what kind of madness is that?
I'm sure this must have been a beast to run. I mean, on PC at the time. I'm sure of it.
It looks very good now. Like, there's a lot of modern stuff we play on PlayStation 5 that looks like butt compared to this game. And so for it to look this good still 20 years later, and for the amount of detail that's in it, that's impressive. And so that's why, when I sit back and I think about legitimately what they did, and for it to still look this good now, that's a hell of an accomplishment, because there's, that was the PlayStation 2 era. They were just coming out of PlayStation 1. So, things were kind of going in that weird Japanese, like, Xenosaga route where everything was maybe brightly colored. Everybody was super exaggerated. Men look like, they've always have. But for this game to everybody look normal, to have fingers, to have all these really great animations is saying something.
It's very much what we get in 360 era.
Mm-hmm.
This is how ahead of the time it was. I mean, 360 era is not that far away from like Gears of War, 07, 08, or 06, somewhere around there. Like we're starting to get very close to when the next gen hits.
Yeah.
Except this game was on Xbox. Yeah. They got this game to run on a regular Xbox somehow, which I think is impressive for the time, but I didn't play it because I never played Half-Life 1, so I couldn't play Half-Life 2. Which is not true, but that's what my brain told me.
I want to say 360 was 2005?
Yes.
All right.
Late 2005, I think. I just know my friend got one in 2006 with the money that people gave him for college. That's what I always remember. His mother was not happy with it.
To be fair, that's only 3 textbooks, so,
Yeah, he also didn't make it very far in college either. He dropped out within a year. He wasn't that kind of guy. And college not for everybody. I didn't go to college. I probably could have, but I fucking hated school at that time in my life. And now I hate debt, so.
That's a whole different conversation we could have, where I have I graduated the bottom, third of my class in high school. And I was like, college? That's insane. I don't need to go. And then I played G.I. Joe for a few years and broke my arm. And they said, hey, go to college. And I said, what, are you stupid? Do you know how bad I did in high school? And they're like, we don't care. You just can't do this anymore. And ended up on accident going to the University of Washington. So, anybody.
Aren't you like an engineer or something now?
I'm environmental health and safety manager. So I manage, the person when they're like, hey, you got to take your yearly online training.
Yes.
You're welcome. That's me.
Okay.
Most of the guy that manages your toxic waste and adjusts your workstation. So anyone that's listening, if you don't know what you want to do, but you like science, that is an awesome freaking job. And the field is wide open. And if you're curious about it, shoot me an email on my Aerith_33 Instagram, and we can talk about that and drones.
Hey, somebody might take you up the offer. We do get some listeners on the show. Some
listeners. I've been thinking about this for about a week now. Do you call them like Momegians, Atticians? What are people that listen to your podcast called?
I don't know. I never thought anything like for. I mean, because it's hard. Our name is Game My Mom Found, so GMFers. I don't know. I don't really have anything for it. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah.
It's better than Bayo Nutters. I can tell you that much.
What the fuck?
I'll tell you about that after this.
Join our Discord. Chat with us, please. We need more people in Discord. So you'll see a link in the show notes. Since you brought it up, I'll just plug it there. You didn't bring it up, but that's what made me think of. God, what was I going to say? I think we've touched on most things in this game. I mean, the ending is you blowing up the elevator. Then there's a big explosion, and the game ends there. Then there is DLC for episode 1 and episode 2, which came out, I think, the following year.
Well,
I don't know.
The G-Man comes out and says, "Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
You've been contracted to do something further. come with me if you want to live.
That's what it
Forget
is.
that. You're going to come with me whether you want to live or not.
Yeah, get used to that because pretty much every game now ends with that, with the time freezing and G-Man going, all right, good job, buddy. Let's go on to the next one.
Oh, and episode 1 was 2006, so 2 years later, and episode 2 was 2007. And then they canceled episode 3 and several further Half-Life projects.
Well, because Half-Life Alyx came out for the PlayStation VR, right?
No,
Steam
not the
VR.
PlayStation.
Or
Just
whatever
VR.
the VR system was.
Yeah, and that came out in 2020. That was the last Half-Life game we've gotten.
That was 2020?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's weird, huh? 2020 doesn't feel like... I don't know, I'm like, yeah, 2020 wasn't that long ago. I'm like, oh, wait, we're in 2024.
That was almost a whole other president ago.
Hopefully not repeating that.
Hopefully not.
So I worry sometimes. But hey, here's my political joke. When I was reading on the internet that when somebody was asking for donations that go towards her candidacy to help him run and advertise, he wants to pay for his legal fees instead. That's a good idea. Yeah, let's not win the election, and I mean I'm okay with that. But like, hey, let's spend money on myself instead of helping the party that I'm supposed to be working for. Okay. So, also not legal, by the way. I'm pretty sure. But hey, we'll deal with that someday, maybe.
We're no political experts here.
No, but I do make political comments quite often. I try not to, but sometimes I do get political. Sure.
I'm down with that.
As long as it's factual, I'm fine with it. And what I'm saying is actual factual what's happening. So it's
Hey,
okay.
you know what? I can go ahead and give it the vouch, and I want Mike to put it on there. Games My Mom Found, probably the most LGBTQ friendly show out there right now. So
I mean, I can't be the only one. I'm sure I'm not the only one.
you're not the only one, but I mean, would I between this and the Joe Rogan show, I'm pretty sure the only podcast I have on my fucking Spotify is this podcast.
I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, but he is, yeah. I never listened to his show, and I never will.
He may have been punched a few times, too many in the head.
He wasn't the guy who did the stupid...
The Man Show?
Oh, no, the one where the scared show.
Oh, no, that was Ernest. What was it? Fear Factor.
Yeah, that dumb bullshit show. He was that guy, right? The host of that?
Yep.
And now isn't he something to do with UFC?
Yeah, that's his whole. He has his podcast, and he's a big stumper for Dana White in the UFC.
Okay. That's how I don't like him. I have no interest in him. At least he's better than Alex Jones, right? I'm assuming.
Yes. Probably.
Okay, I mean,
It's a low bar.
it is. Alex Jones even still around, or he finally got taken off the internet?
My wife listens to this podcast where it's kind of like back in the day where people that hated Howard Stern listened to more Howard Stern than the people that liked him. There's a podcast she listens to where these guys like dissect everything that Alex Jones says. And she's like, oh yeah, he was saying this and they were talking about this. And it was kind of interesting. She dives real deep into conspiracy theory stuff. She's the one that taught me about flat Earth. And not that she believes in flat Earth, but she was watching all this stuff. There's some really cool documentaries about it. The problem is she's also a government employee and she's looking at some of this stuff on her computer. And I was like, well, you are going to get the FBI.
Oh, they're already watching. What are you talking about?
Stop looking at that stuff.
I mean, I've made jokes before, like on this podcast, where I'll say something. Like, for example, we did Batman Forever, which is already out at this point, and I made a comment about something about Batman Forever we're talking about, and I open Facebook, and all of a sudden there's an ad for Batman Forever, and I'm like, and I didn't type it out. It just, yeah.
I mean, you want to give example now? We're talking about Half-Life 2, and that post I put in the Facebook Messenger popped up on my Facebook. So I was like, oh, there we go, and I saved it and sent it to the group chat.
Oh yeah, like people, like the whole thing, like they're gonna ban TikTok for collecting your information. Like Facebook does it too, guys. Like you just care because it's not a U.S. company. Like that's all.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, people get so upset. I'm like, it's just we're getting close to a world like what we have in Half-Life 2, but we're not. We don't have a thing keeping us from reproducing. So
Not yet.
Well, there's also no kids in this game either.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier.
There's a reason. From what the lore says, they killed all the kids.
But there's also no reason to come across it. Like in Dead Space 2, when you're walking through that daycare, which, by the way, I still have me and everybody else has PTSD from that. Mom, come here, and the baby head crab thing blows her and itself up. And you're like, oh my god! But there's not like you're not walking through a school, you're not walking through a daycare, you're really not even walking through like a housing section that's being actively used by somebody other than like rebels.
Well,
really
in
come
the beginning of the
across them.
game, you do. Like the houses you go through in the beginning of the game are the way they make people live.
Yeah.
It's probably a weird like Skyrim thing where like they're like, all right, we try to put children in the game. Not only could we not think of anything lore wise as to why they're not there or why they are there, but every other like to be fair, every other game from like 2000 has just like ugly ass children. Skyrim, LA Noire, just butt ugly fucking children. So they were probably just like, you know what, fuck it, no children, don't worry about it.
Well, the focus group was probably also like punting them.
Yeah.
I think there's a God. I wish Dan would have been able to come here because he'd be answer. I think I was right from what I was hearing that like they killed the kids because they don't want people to. They're trying to end the civil. They're trying to get rid of the human race. They just want the planet.
You know, you're probably.
But they're also using them to work for them too. Oh, there's one part that would have completely baffled me in this game if it wasn't for the guide. Near the end, I think when you're in the sanctuary, you have to get in one of those pods that carried the Alex's father around. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then I looked at the internet like, oh yeah, go to the pod and press E. And I'm like, or action button E for me. But I'm like, oh okay, I would not have put
the
two
wrong
together.
one. There was the one where you could choose the one on the left or the one on the right.
Yes,
And if you get on the one on the right, it like zaps you to death.
I didn't know that. I thankfully picked the right one the first time.
That's what the guide said too. Also, this game does autosave a lot too, which is nice because I did die quite a few times, so I found that out. Game autosaves well because I forget to save.
About 80% of the time it saved real well. There was a couple times where it was like, ooh, I got to backtrack pretty far now, get back to where I was.
I saved a decent amount. Not as crazy as I've done in some games, but it wasn't too bad. This was definitely more playable than Half-Life 1 is.
Yeah.
And better. To me, this was way better than Half-Life 1. I think that's fair.
That is fair.
My cat agrees too.
They learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah, I would say so because they did develop a good game. The gravity gun. We haven't really talked about that, but it's kind of fun. But I don't like just grabbing random things in the environment. I don't know what's going to work. But that's a me problem.
And to that point, and kind of what I was talking about earlier, but it just seemed like, all right, we have this really cool thing that we can do. We just don't know what to do with it. So here's a can, throw it at the bad guy. I was like, okay. But you could see with the box thing at the beginning where they're like, all right, pick up the box, throw the box, put it down. I was like, oh, we're going to be doing this. It's a lot. But it's not as much as you think it would be. There's some games where they're like, oh, here's our main mechanic, and we are just going to beat you to death with it the whole game, whether it's good or not. And my real only time that I had a problem with the gravity gun and like using it was there was a point where you were in this room full of like toxic waste, and you had to use those big like cable reels that people use as tables to get across the toxic water. And it was a mix between kind of like still not understanding the physics of the gravity gun in the code, like them trying to make it work. The first person shooter platforming and magical monster closets appearing around you, that it just was like, all right, this needs some work. This needs 20 years of knowledge for 2024, and it would work beautifully. In 2004, it's a nightmare.
Also, if you guys can believe this game can be super glitchy, by the way. I found out by watching videos where they just pick up stuff and use it to jump around to the environment, which is no surprise. I really did appreciate that all the supply crates are labeled, so when you can find items. I really appreciated that because I was grabbing stuff constantly. I actually got a decent amount of achievements playing through this game and just finding shit. That was nice. Didn't care, but it was nice. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. I'm like, oh, cool, I got an achievement. Oh, all right. Like, oh, yeah, whatever. Sometimes I look at them, but I've never actually pulled up a list and go, what did I miss in this game? Those days are long gone. Thank God.
See, I'm looking at mine. It says I got 20 of 33 achievements, which I'm a little surprised I got that many.
It's a lot of stuff just playing through the game, I think, which is nice. I appreciate when games do that.
Here's the one you said: killed 5 barnacles with a barrel.
If I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have cared enough. The barnacles are cool in this game. I didn't mind having them back. They were cooler in this game than the first game. They didn't kill me as much or at all.
I like shooting them with the pistol.
Yeah, I do too. I like when they ate an enemy for me once. That was kind of great too. They ate a head crab and then died. I'm like, okay, cool. It was just accident. Just a head crab just happened. It was trying to kill me and happened to jump in the barnacle's way, and then the barnacle ate him. So I'm like, all right, and then died after eating him.
You can kill somebody with a toilet.
I never did that. Do you climb up a roof and then throw it off the top of the roof and then jump down and hit the other guy? When
I
I
have
hit
no
my
idea.
toilet?
The achievement just says flushed, kill an enemy with a toilet.
No, I'm making a Boondock Saints reference. That somebody else.
I fucking caught that. God damn it, Mike.
You're welcome. We will forever live in your brain now, thanks to you watching it for the show.
Yep. It's okay. I'm gonna watch it a second time this weekend, but
Did you have your Little Caesar pizza with it too? To go along
No.
with it? Okay.
no, I ate fucking something else completely different than what my husband wanted. But what was
That'll
that?
show
Sushi.
him.
How does that work? I don't know what that's like. Ordering something your spouse doesn't want. Huh? She can't hear me. If she did, I would have heard something. That's funny though. No, I do sometimes, but normally I get whatever my wife likes to eat. But I'm also don't give a shit about food for the most part. Just eat. All right. Anything else since we ranted and raven, and anything else to say about Half-Life 2, or should we go on to questions, comments, or memories?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. Maybe we can come up with some more GameStop rants, I'm sure. But okay, and from the first group official Laser Time community, from Mark Kelzer, still one of the most epic first-person video game experiences I've ever gone through. One of the most uniquely chilling images in games is the way the Combine's dark tone, steel walls move occasionally, sliding up to engulf more and more of the inhabited city, gobbling it up for their own use. They really worked to make the Combine seem uniquely alien to us, with an inverse of symmetry in their architecture and inhumane tone. Yeah,
That's big words.
it's something I didn't really think about till he mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah. From Chad Hembrook, Half-Life 2 is amazing. I built a new PC just to be ready to play it. I had it pre-ordered for a while, so I was able to get the CSS beta, which I skipped class to get home and play when it was available. From Mike Miley, Half-Life 2 was the first Half-Life game I had played thanks to the Orange Box back on 360, and it was utterly phenomenal. I was just sucked into the world building of the setting at the time. From Joe Menjivar, my sister, who is not interested in video games, had a free download code for the Orange Box that she gave me. I think she got it at work or something. She works at a moderately sized technology company. Half-Life 2 is probably technically the best video game I had ever played up to that point. I am not an FPS person, never have been, but this game was so far ahead of the last FPS I'd gotten really into, GoldenEye. Sure, the Orange Box was 10 years after GoldenEye, but holy cow, it was such a significant leap. I didn't have an Xbox, so I hadn't played Halo. If I had, maybe the leap wouldn't have felt so massive. Here's a good one. Allard DeBerg, I still remember people complaining about needing Steam to download it. I can see people bitch like, I don't want to get this online thing. They're going to get my information.
As they type that out on their iPhone.
What was iPhone around 2004?
No,
Yeah.
but the iPhone in 2004?
I think so.
I was 2008, 2007,
Oh.
2008.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, I remember because I was in the military at the time, and some guy had way more money than sense, and he bought one, and the only app he had on it was this thing. It was you press a button, and a lightsaber would shoot up on the screen, and you'd move it around, and it would make lightsaber sounds. And I was like, "Dude, is that the only thing it does?" He's like, "No, it can also play iTunes and make calls." I was like, "Cool, that sounds like a terrible product, but." Enjoy.
Man, I wanted an iPhone, and I would have been an iPhone guy had the iPhone not been like $100 versus the Android phone was $1 with a 2-year contract. That's how I became an Android guy.
There you go.
And I am so happy that happened.
Oh no, I'm not an iPhone person. My sister's iPhone has blown up 3 times for different reasons. So no, thank you.
I mean, I would have been one had they just sold it to me for a cheap price like the other phone and
Like
tried to
they do now.
compete. I'm okay because I wouldn't be able to do some of the shit I've done on my phone. So like play Pokemon Yellow at one point.
My family gives me so much crap. My mom, dad, sister, everybody else has an iPhone. I have a Samsung. They're like, why did you get an iPhone and be like the rest of us? I say, because I don't want to play school phone. I want one that actually does stuff. And I don't think that's as funny as I do.
I think Android's better. I get Samsung phones every couple of years. I love them.
Yeah.
I think they're great. So, all right. And then from I watched the entire Orplet Super Replay group. Let's see what we got from Josh Carmel. If you haven't checked it out, the VR mod is amazing. I have not. That's because I don't have the ability to. I haven't gotten VR. I'm curious about it, but I'm not ready for it. So
that sounds like a whole different discussion.
yeah, I'm just not. I mean, at some point when VR gets cheaper and there's more games for it, and I'll someday get into VR. I'm very interested in VR. I'm just not ready for that.
Well, there's an article that just came out that said Sony just halted production on the PSVR 2 until they can start selling the stock that they have because they're not selling enough.
Yeah, because it's too expensive.
Well, yeah, that and plus it doesn't help that their stupid asses were like, oh yeah, you can't play the PSVR 1 games on the VR 2. but I've also heard a rumor that there's a rumor going around that apparently they're going to let you use it on your PC. So there's always that.
Oh, if it goes PC, then they'll sell then.
Mm-hmm.
Not for what they want, but it'll sell.
Just quickly, kind of, because this coincides with two things we talk about. Back when I worked at GameStop, I was working at a GameStop at the Tacoma Mall, and we used to get Tacoma is kind of a big hub for like shipping. And a guy came in from the ship. He brought in a PlayStation TV with built-in 3D technology, and I don't think this is like a very high-selling product because none of us had seen the thing before. But it was a thing you could buy specifically. It was a TV, but it was a PlayStation branded TV, and it has 3D technology built in because it was around that time that like the 3DS and everything came out. And I think Sony clearly thought it was going to be bigger than what it was, but the dude was trying to sell us or trying to trade in this TV that he had in his crew cabin on one of those big, transport ships. And we're like, dude, we can't even find this in the system. We don't know how much we can give it to you for it. It's a really cool thing, and we'd love to have it, but we don't know what to do with it. Sorry. And he's like, okay, cool. I'll just take it back on board. But I think Sony like really does try to jump on the current trends. Problem is a lot of those trends don't ever seem to pan out. 3D, VR, a lot of the stuff, it's a little too niche to do anything with.
I believe it.
Oh, and I just wanted to comment on your GameStop thing since we ended up back there again. When I used to work for FedEx back in like 3 years ago, 2 years ago at this point, 2021, I think I quit. But I worked with a bunch of managers from GameStop because the regional manager left GameStop, came here, and took a bunch of managers with him. And they're like, yeah, GameStop was great to work for in the 360 era. And they said it just started going downhill later on. They were all managers, so they weren't in the grunt part of it.
Yeah, they were really buying heavily into we only have so many hours to give, so you can only work 10 hours. Like, oh, thanks. Be worth my time.
Well, I mean, you rely on a job, and especially the job where it's like, we're only going to give you 10 hours a week, but you need to be available the entire week, and we'll decide when we want you. So we don't go get another job, because we might need you.
Yeah.
That's just bad business. No, I just always think about that, because they were like, oh, yeah, it was great. And then they're like, yeah, then it went. But I'm like, I can't even believe GameStop's still around. So
right.
I think they're going to be closing more stores again. I feel like I saw some articles saying they're going to close more, but maybe it was just...
No, they are closing more. There was something I read recently too. It's on Reddit, which I believe probably more than the news, which is bad. There's a bunch of people on the GameStop Reddit that were saying like, yeah, a lot of them their contracts are the contract for their leasing space is going up, and they're like asking their managers are like, so are we renewing? And they usually get lies like, oh yeah, we're renewing, and then the month before the lease goes up, the DM comes in and is just like, oh yeah, just start packing shit up so we can ship it out because we're closing the store officially. So we're not renewing the contract. Just pack everything up and get the fuck out of here.
And you'll have no job in the end of this month.
Pretty much.
We won't tell you that until after you pack all the boxes and load them up.
What if everybody just comes into work and just sits down and says, we're not going to pack up. What are you going to do about it?
Fair.
Hey, what are you going to do? Fire you?
Yeah, find some sucker to do it for me.
They say they'll move you to a new store, but other people usually quit because they're like, all right, well, let me go see if the other stores need people, and they'll go to like the 3 stores that they know of that are like close enough, and it's like, are you actually gonna take us if when the store closes? And there's usually a no, so they're like, yeah, fuck that, you guys have fun packing the store, I'm outie.
I mean, that's kind. Yeah, to go along with that joke, I have a joke, another story, not from me, but someone I worked with. She was a manager at the store, and she was trying to convince one of the other managers she knew at the store. She's like, quit GameStop and come work for FedEx. She's like, it's a better company, And he's like, no, GameStop. I'm loyal to GameStop. And he was like, they're going to give me my own store. And then something happened, and yeah, he didn't get the store, and then he got fired or something like. Or I think his job just disappeared. They closed down his store. They just closed down the store he was at, and his job just disappeared. And she's like, I told you to come work here. And yeah, but don't. Moral of the story: don't be loyal to corporations. They're not loyal to you. Go there, do your job the best of your ability, and always be aware that But just don't be like, if a better opportunity comes up, 2-week notice. See you later. All right, and some more comments from Randy Brink. I never had a PC, so when I got to play it on the 360, I remember being very impressed by the physics and story. I played it a lot recently, went back for a playthrough and went, well, this didn't age well. It's not terrible or even bad by any means. It's just we've come so far in when it comes to game pacing and mechanics, it doesn't feel good to play for me anyway.
I think that's what I've been saying.
Yeah. From Micah Wagner, Steam was giving out the original for free. Awesome to play it on the Steam Deck. Yeah, probably would have been had I done that. But from Jacob Wilson, Half-Life 2 is my favorite game of all time. I probably bought it the number of times Skyrim has been released. I try to complete it at least once a year. When it first came out, my computer wasn't good enough to fully play it. So when I looked certain directions when playing the game would slow down. The next time I beat it will be my 60th playthrough.
Jeez.
Goddamn.
Hey, if you love the game, you love the game. You know,
That's true.
From Eric Olson, I played it when it first came out, day one. And I'm still kind of jealous you get to experience it for the first time 20 years later. Yeah, don't be. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't blown away or anything like that. I know Ian was not blown away, but his first time experiencing it in 20 years, so. And last question from this group, Ron Huntone, been on the show. Did you experience the joy of jumping down from a ledge/drop with a revolver and capping a baddie in the head?
My aim's not good. That good.
I don't think I did. I didn't really jump a lot either. And then you also asked, what were your thoughts on the intro to City 17? Which I didn't really pay enough attention to it because I was just kind of going through the motions. But like, it is a really cool intro. When I was looking back at it and watching YouTube videos, like, there's a lot of shit going on.
It's very dystopian.
And it does a good job of showing, like, the part where the guy just knocks the can over and goes, pick up the can, after he just knocked on the ground.
Yeah.
But to show, he has power over you, so do what he tells you to.
It is a pretty extended sequence when you think about it, too, because it goes for a while, from the train to walking through the checkpoint to going through the apartment block. You go for quite a while to get to the point where they're like, all right, now it's time to fight.
Yeah, it does a good job. And I really didn't think about this, but the internet told me, like, oh, just like the first game starts with you on a train. This game starts with you on a train. I'm like, oh, yeah. I didn't put two and two together. It's only been a year, but...
Well, yeah, plus you have all the other stuff, too, like being told to go a different way, and there's, like, there's a guy being interrogated, and you walk in the room before you realize it's Barney, like, the room's covered in blood, like, someone's got their shit kicked in, and then... going through like the buildings and seeing them, people talking in whispers of like, oh yeah, they've already taken down one building. Let's go through another. They might as well go through another. And like you just seeing like walking by and like just seeing other people get their shit kicked in. It's a really good opening.
It is.
It is
I
cool
didn't
that you get
appreciate
to go back through that area later on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't appreciate it enough when I played it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't think I'll ever go back to this game, but all right. And then from the last group, Giant Bomb. From Keith O'Donnell, it's one of those things I just never understood the hype for. Bought and played it at release, found the physics fun, but just didn't have a good time with it otherwise. Cool that it's so beloved, though. From Israel Rojano, upgraded my PC for it. The water and physics blew my mind when watching the coverage. I must have watched that GameSpot review dozens of times. One of my favorites still. From Randy Kluver, I consider it to be my favorite game of all time. Of course, it has its issues, but as far as atmosphere and pacing goes, I think it's pretty much flawless. To me, there's never been another game that has absorbed me so much into its world. It's the perfect mix of environmental design, sound, and music, and subtle storytelling. Even though you are supposed to be a very significant figure in this universe, the game just does a great job at making you feel like a small part of a much bigger world. I also think it holds up reasonably well on a technical level 20 years later. The facial animations especially surpass many games that were coming out for the next decade. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
From Paul Lucy, oh geez, how much time do you have? I could talk about Half-Life for days. Hey, here we go. I worked at GameStop when this was released, and my boss was so hyped for it. I'd played the first on a friend's PC in high school, so I was also hyped. But since I only owned an Xbox at the time, I knew I was going to miss out. I didn't get to officially play Half-Life 2 and its episodes until the Orange Box on 360, and I became a Valve superfan overnight. I'm still blown away by the value of that product. And I built a PC shortly after that so I could play the real versions of Valve's games as well as Battlefield 3. I played their games to death at this point, and Half-Life 2 is one that I return to about every 18 months. It's a classic for a lot of reasons. I also recognize some design trends that it started that I've come to dislike, and I totally understand the people who like the original more. If it weren't for the series and other Valve products, I probably wouldn't have converted to mainly a PC player. I suppose that makes the Half-Life series a system seller for me. I didn't buy a VR headset for Alex, but only because I already had one. As a huge fan of the series, I think it would have been worth the purchase price. Anyway, always glad to see someone finally getting to experience these games. Finger crossed that we get more at some point. Failing that, I hope Valve makes an immersive sim of some sort, but that's another conversation altogether.
I loved Battlefield 3.
I played it once and liked it. That was a while ago. Played on 360. From John Silverman, I can't imagine a world where this wasn't a defining experience for me. Half-Life and the sequel are some of the most important games for me. I'm not a big enjoyer of modern-day shooters, but I consistently go back and play this. From Geraldine Hester, I remember getting a physical copy, having to install Steam for it, being ready on release, and the Steam services being unable to decrypt the game due to server load. Yeah, that would be really annoying.
Yeah.
From Hector Diaz, if you have the patience for it, play it with the commentary track. It's fun to hear devs talk about how they came up with things that nowadays we take for granted. All right, that would be kind of cool. I won't do it, but that would be kind of cool. Well, I'm not going to, so, but it sounds cool. And that's everything we have for that. And before we go to Shelf Stacker Box, I want to give away a code. Let's see. Here, have the code, Steam code for Ring of Pain. And I don't know what Ring of Pain is either. The code is GL937655AHXJZWF8. That is the Steam code for Ring of Pain. All right. And let's go to Shelf Stacker Box. And Joe, why don't you go first?
I'm going to go ahead and put this on the shelf. I thoroughly much enjoyed this game back when I played it for the first time. I want to say I played it again later, but it's probably like my third or fourth time playing it, and I still had a pretty good time going through it. Yeah, the boat section and the car section are a little long, but they also have some pretty good moments, like having the speed underneath the falling tower was pretty cool. And Ravenholm's pretty much my favorite part of the whole game, but I do like the second half of the game more than I like the first half. So I'd still probably put it on the shelf.
Okay. I'll go next. I'm going to put this in the stack. I had fun, but it wasn't the best experience for me. But it's still a good game, and I'm still glad that it's off my backlog forever. Like, I mean, I've been meaning to play this game for like 20 years, and I feel like I need to play games that are considered like this monumental as a gamer, like especially as a guy who does a podcast now and reviews games. Like, I feel like I need to experience those monumental experiences. So, going on a stack, but I had a good time, and I'm glad I played it. And at some point, I will play episode 1 and 2. And maybe Alex. We'll see. And what about you, Ian?
It filled a crucial hole. Like, I feel like there's games that if you're really into video games, you just need to play. And I feel like this is one of those games. With that said, I'm glad I played it, and I will never, ever, ever touch it again because, there's just so many other things to play. And again, I'm not dogging on the game. I can see where at the time it was really great, and there's a lot of stuff that has guided the current shooting generation. But yeah, I'm done. I'm not going back to this one. It can be stuck in the back of the garage in a box somewhere, and I will not feel bad about it.
Would you go back to episode 1 and 2? I am going to do them at some point, maybe not even this year. Who knows?
You know what? I could see myself go, if as a new experience, yes, I would go back and give those a shot simply for the experience. And my mind could change, and who knows? But yeah, I'd give those a shot.
Sometime putting a game it'll probably be a year because I have some other shit to get to before I'm ready to go back to that. And I feel like sometimes you need some time away from a game. Yeah. To go back to play the DLC, and especially DLC like that came out a year later, that wasn't DLC that was designed to release when the game came out to get more money out of you. Like it feels like you probably don't need, like, the game's gonna understand, like, yeah, it's been a couple years since you played, here's how to play, not like, well, you know how to play, right?
Yeah.
Forget we did some DLC like that recently where I'm like, I don't Control, where it feels like it's part of, because it was great, but it still felt like it was part of the game, not really DLC. But that's neither here nor there. All right, and Ian, where can people find you at?
Aerith_33 on Instagram. If you have feedback on any of the stuff I posted, I'd really appreciate it, because again, the only people that really seem to see it are our family. So let me know what you think.
All right. And before I forget, I should have shown what we're going to talk about next week. Next week, you can hear us talk about Kirby's Air Ride, a GameCube game, and the only second Kirby game to ever be on the show, which is kind of strange. I just don't play a lot of Kirby games. So that's what you get to hear about next week. And if you enjoyed this episode, there were 600 other episodes on Podbean. You can find everything we do. There's also a search bar on Podbean. You can type in Portal, type in Star Wars, type in Batman. Stuff will come up. Tons of episodes that we do. In the show notes, you will see our other Half-Life and Portal stuff that we did. So if you want more of the Valve universe, it will be in the show notes. So definitely go check that out. Just links directly, so make it nice and easy. And we do have Patreon. If you want to support the show for little as $1, you can vote in our Patreon polls. We have one every month, sometimes two. So definitely go join that, please. You get to affect the show and support the show. So it helps me out a lot. And we put video content up there sometimes. So definitely go do that. And please join our Discord. You will see links in the show notes to our Discord. We're always happy to have new people join us and chat with us. You will see links in the show notes to that. And I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hellhatsery. You can follow her on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram. You will see a link to her link tree in the show notes. And check out Nomads of Fantasy and Nintendo main podcast. And also want to give a shout out to a Gamer Looks at 40 with Bill Tucker, who's on the show quite often. Definitely go check out his show. He's covering Final Fantasy right now. So if you want to hear Final Fantasy, you'll hear plenty there. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, YouTube, TikTok. Yeah, we're on everything. You can follow us there, support us, review us wherever you get our podcast. Greatly appreciate it. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.